Alrighty, folks, it is that time. We're going to talk about the dirty little secret of real estate scams. We're going to talk about some scams we've seen, we've heard about, and we're going to have this conversation with the one and only Brick by Brick. Casey, how you doing?
I am doing really good, Michael. I can't believe it's the new year. And that's when the scammers come out in full force. So
Yeah,
let's talk about
yeah, there you
it.
go. Yeah, scammers are out there. It's funny. We just had somebody over the Christmas holiday almost get scammed, and we'll talk about that as my first example. But ladies first, what's the scam that you've seen?
All right. One scam that I had no idea about until I talked to my real estate attorney during a closing was title scams. So he said, Casey, if you ever have your properties paid off, any property paid off, he said, don't leave it paid off. Go get a HELOC on it, even if it's for like $10,000. Because what people do is they will steal your title from you and you will never get notified that the title is in somebody else's name,
Hmm.
but you will get notified if there is any sort of loan on the property, even like a $10,000 HELOC, you will get notified that someone's trying to change title. So I thought that was
Oh.
really interesting, and I'm never going to forget that one.
That is wild. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there trying to take your assets. I think his name's David Green from Bigger
Mhm.
Pockets fame. He talked about, I think he talked about losing like 30 properties to some title scam that somehow changed ownership in an LLC or something. I don't know the details, but yeah, it could happen. It could happen to the best of us, right? David Green's is a rock star in the real estate community, and he's open. He's shared the story multiple times about a title scam that he was unfortunately a part of. It's funny. The first time I saw this one was actually in a movie. It actually happened to a friend's wife the day after Christmas. So she got a pop up on her computer saying that she had a virus and that said gave a phone number. And she called the phone number and was in the process of potentially giving away bank information, right? Bank
Wow.
accounts, things of that nature. When her husband stumbled across this and hung up on the guy. But this was actually a storyline. I think the movie was Beekeeper, where a pop up came up, and she unfortunately didn't hang up in time and lost out. But yeah, be very, very careful, folks. I don't know of any pop-ups that are going to say call this number.
Right.
So don't fall for it.
And I'm very wary too when I get phone calls, and I mean, I've gotten a phone call saying they're my bank, that they're, whatever, a credit card company, and I made a large purchase and, whatever, and they want to verify my information. They're never going to call and reach out to you. Really, you're going to get a text, an email, you're going to get all the things. And so when people call me, I am very wary to say yes, you know, because I don't want them to record my voice saying, yes, I agree. And then now they cut that out and have me agree to all sorts of things. So I'm like, that's correct. Like, until I can fish them out. But I'm really scared when people call when I'm not expecting it,
Mhm.
to try and get, because especially the older people, they get scammed by this all the time. This is always on our local city Facebook page. All these scammers trying to get people's money from bank accounts and things like that. So be careful getting phone calls. Okay, so one other one that I have heard about happening is wire fraud with
Mhm.
real estate. And when you're going to close on a property, you always see the fine print, from your lender saying, "Oh, be careful of wire fraud and call to verify the number the day of before you wire funds," because you may see what a lot of people do, a lot of the scammers do, is they will, if they've gotten into your email, they can intercept emails from your bank, and they can change even the URL. Like there are some, other language characters that are used on, obviously it's just not the American, the alphabet, the A through Z that we see. There are other languages with symbols that look like our letters, like an A symbol. Like there's symbols in other languages that look like an A, but they're not an A, especially the one that's like a regular, when you're in school, you draw the letter A, you don't do like the A like on the typewriter, like on the computer. That A is a different character. And when you see something in your URL that looks odd, that's not the same letter characters, watch out, because a lot of times they will intercept. They will have you click links and take you to different websites. They will have you wire money to other places, and it looks like it's legit, but it's not. And those little subtle changes in the URL and the attachments and things like that, where they will get you. Because I have heard in my real estate investor group of people getting scammed out of their wire money, and they wired money, thousands and thousands of dollars, to somebody that they were not intending on wiring money to, and they did not get it back.
Yeah. There's also rental scams. This is something I heard about a lot during the GFC, where basically people find a vacant home and then they pretend to be the owner. They list it on a for rent sign. They make it listed below market, probably substantially below market. And their whole intention is just to collect a bunch of deposits before anybody actually moves in. So again, one scam that hit the Fresno area, somebody was able to capture something like 32 or 33 deposits in about a 10-day period. All of those people lost that money. So watch for those as well.
This happens to me almost every time I put a rental listing up. Almost every time. And I started, getting hip to it a few years ago when I would get calls from potential tenants. And I would ask them the qualifying questions, and I'm like, you do not qualify. And then they would say, and then I'd say, well, how much do you make? And I'm thinking, well, that's not 3 times the rent. And they're like, well, how much was the rent? Because I might have put 1,500, on my Zillow listing, but someone had copied my pictures. And that's why, so annoyingly, property management companies plaster their pictures with all of the, the overlay logos and things, because people take the images from the Zillow listings from people like me that don't want this stuff on, the ugly watermarks, but they put them on Craigslist, they put them on apartments.com, they put them on forrent.com, and they will list them at about half the price. And so I would get calls saying, isn't your place like $800? And I'm like, no, it's $1,500. So now what I put in my listings on Zillow in the very bottom is, this is the only place you will see this listing, or this price is listed for $1,540. If you see it listed for anywhere less than this, it's fake. Please call me out, call me at this number or whatever, because, and there's nothing you can do about taking them down. You can call all you want, apartments.com and forrent.com and Craigslist, you can flag it, and they might not ever go away. So you have to do your best, but that's a huge one. And they will scam potential tenants out of deposits. And on this one house we had, someone broke in and stole our stove. So it was brand new. And they kicked the door in, and this was right when all this was going on. So I'm like, was somebody mad that they gave somebody a deposit for this property and they were pissed off and they went and stole my stove? I mean, it was just too coincidental. So you got to really watch out for that one for sure.
Yeah. What's another one?
All right. So the other one I have is contractor scams. Now, this could be a whole video, but quickly, and I just ran into this again just the other day. We're always looking for new contractors and subs and trying to take the work off of our plate. And so finding new people is excruciatingly painful, especially ones that you can depend and rely on. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, and it's consistent effort. So we're like, all right, we're going to go with a real contractor this time because we don't want to deal with the subs and all the things. So we called this guy who had great recommendations on Nextdoor and Facebook. My mother-in-law was like, oh yeah, I heard people talk about his company. So I call the guy up. I have him come give an estimate, and I'm very persistent about wanting a written estimate, wanting everything detailed and written out. I will not pay you any money up front. I don't care. I know good contractors, some of them will require big money, money up front, but this is that's for big jobs like additions and such. If you're doing something that's a couple $1,000s, a real contractor should not need any upfront money. And if they do, all I'm giving them is materials up front. I will buy materials. I'm not prepaying for labor. No freaking way. So this guy wanted 50% up front and, all these things. And I'm like, no. So he finally agrees to my demands and we sign. and he sends the guy to do the work. Now, of course, it doesn't go as planned. The guy was really nice, but then I'm finding out that the main contractor, who I thought I was working with, he actually sold his business a couple years ago to someone else, because the name on his contract, his net, I won't even say his name, but it was like a regular name, Bill Nye, like the same guy, Bill Nye. But then it turned out to be like Bill Schnofernacker or something. So he changed his name, and if you look up his real name, he has Better Business Bureau and contractor board complaints up the wazoo, lawsuits up the wazoo. The guy that was working on the property told me that this guy's living out of a hotel and he's a scammer, and he tries to, because I'm like, he wanted half up front. He wanted me to comply with all these things. And I'm like, no, but I think the guy was so desperate for money that he did what I wanted. In the end, and this is all during Christmas, mind you, the weekend before Christmas, I told the guy to get lost. And even though we had something signed, screw you, like, I don't trust you. And it wasn't out any money. And I ended up paying the labor worker the work to get the job done, because this guy was just a crock. So you have to watch out when people say they have a license and all these things. Ask for the things. He wasn't giving me the things, and I was asking for them. I'm like, So ask for the license, ask for the proof of insurance, get recommendations. Don't give anybody labor money up front. Personally, that's not what I do. If I have to give them anything, it's materials first, or if then maybe 1/3 up front, depending upon what's going on. Yeah. But a lot of times there are a lot of good contractors out there. There's also a lot of crappy contractors who do try to scam people out of money. And I was almost a victim last weekend.
Yeah. The other one, I'm going to call it a pyramid scheme. It might be taken from Paul to pay Peter, but I think we're going to see a lot of syndicators go to jail over this. And basically the story goes, you have an asset, an apartment building that maybe you bought at the right price and is producing a return. You bought another asset at the wrong price on the wrong terms. And the only way to kind of give those investors back a return is either A, mingle the money, bad, you're not supposed to do that, or B, have a third deal that you're trying to fund and take money from that to pay the other one. So again, I think we're going to see a lot of people who maybe didn't start out to be fraudsters, but because of pressure, because of time, because of bad choices, they're going to start to commingle funds. And that's no bueno. That's not good. And I think it's coming.
I wonder too about that. I've heard, and you know more than me, I don't know much about syndications, but that if you are a syndicator, or you're not allowed to ask people for money. If it's not a true syndication, you're not allowed to go out and ask people to fund your project. Something like that. Is that true?
Well, there's a whole bunch of rules, Reg D and all these other regulations, accredited, non-accredited. There are lots and lots of rules when you're going out to the quote unquote general public to raise capital. So yeah, there are people doing that wrong. There are fund of funds doing that wrong. There's a whole, it was sexy to be a syndicator. That's when the novices and the crooks come out. And we're just starting to see that pain ripple through.
I guess the bottom line is, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Don't be in a rush.
Yes.
You're not going to get a better deal by making a rash, quick decision without thorough research. It gives me the chills. Just like, take a step back. If your gut tells you that this might not be right, it's probably not right.
Yeah. This is amazing stuff. I appreciate this conversation. You could be found at Brick by Brick Wealth on Instagram and YouTube. Casey, you're amazing. Happy New Year. Can you believe it? 2025 is right around the corner.
I can't believe it. It's going to be a good year. I feel it in my bones.
There you go.